Got it.
You guys, this is a treat. This is my second part 2 interview with Radio Red. She's a creator, a producer, a mom, a host of more than, listen to this, 50 podcast roundtable series covering enterprise strategies, new technologies, engaging in a large global business audience, 1.8 million listeners globally. But today we're going to be talking about a different role that she plays. And it's truly playing in the creative arts, right? We have drumming, we have painting, we have jewelry. Is it right?
We have collages and we have a radio show called Read My Lips, Cool Conversations with
Oh,
Creatives.
Read My Lips, cool
Yes.
conversations with creatives. And this is where we are going to talk about the importance. I mean, what would you be without the creative side, Radio Red? Don't you think all of us should pursue some type of creativity? What do you say to people go, no, that's just not me. I don't have that kind of talent.
It doesn't take talent. It takes making the time to let something flow in your brain and your heart. It doesn't require talent. You don't have to be talented to draw a picture or to do a painting or even to drum or play an instrument. Somebody might say you're not so good, but the point is it's something that you channel something new, and it's a challenge, and it's something you may or may not become good at, but if you enjoy it, that's fine. That's enough. That's what it's all about. And I started
Can you
drumming.
share? Can you share the painting, the
Oh,
creation in the
sure.
back? That is
Oh,
beautiful. I love
well,
it.
I don't have that one here, but I have one I recently did, and this is an acrylic
Ooh.
paint pour with balloon kisses. I don't know if you can see it, and has
I
a lot of
see the balloon kisses.
gold glitter on it. I use a lot of glitter on my paintings. I think this is a 16 by
Wow.
16. That's one recent one, and let me show you another one.
How long
This
does it take to do something like that?
My paintings usually take between 20 minutes and an hour and a half. I do them around midnight. I keep an art studio set up on my very big kitchen counter. And this is lilies done with string and acrylic paint pour. They're done with
String.
string and balloon kisses. Yes. You shape the string into an S shape, you dip it in paint, and then you pull it down. And then there's some kisses on top of that. This is interesting. And I love the purples. I have another one.
Wow, that is incredible.
And I have another one I did recently. This is big. I hope we can see it. Oh, yes, we can. Okay,
Ooh.
this is, I don't know, call this the ocean at night. If you can see it, I'm behind it. Here we go. You can see this is waves. This is poured out of an egg carton. I fill half of a 12 egg carton, one side, 6, with the acrylic paints. I put a couple of drops of silicone oil in them, and then I just pour it over the canvas and move it around and let the paint settle. And then I come back. There were no brushes used, and this has a lot of gold glitter on it. So this was layers of colors just keep on adding to the canvas. And I love this one. I just
So
feel
if you're
really
not using brushes, how do you make those spots?
the little gold spots are from a bottle of glitter glue. Those are glitter glue, and I just let it settle down, and it just moves around. So that's what those are from. Okay,
Is it
and I
because
have
of the oil? Is it because of the oil that you use?
Well, the paints flow. Even if you don't use the oil, the paints will flow on the canvas. So when you pour them, you tilt. They have to be very wet. These are acrylic with a pouring medium. And when you tilt the canvas, they flow into different shapes. This is what I just did the other night. I just love this. This is on a
Wow, look at that.
and I'll tell you what I did. I was running out of white paint and black paint. So I poured some of the white and I tilted, and I poured some red and orange and teal blue and navy blue and black. And then I realized I had little bits of paint left in the bottles. So I squeezed air through the white paint bottle, and I got all of these little spots. Those are dots
Wow.
coming out of an empty paint container, basically. And then the black, if you see, there are little tiny lines. Can you see the little, where am I
Yeah.
going here with my finger? Little tiny lines in the details. Those are all done from the paint squirting out of the black paint bottle. It's like little veins in the color. And then I used thick yellow, a yellow gold color right from the tube that wasn't a pouring paint. And I made balloon kisses with a slightly water-filled small balloon I've used. And that's what came out. So let me hold it up for you, and you can see the, can you see the little
That
thing?
is
Isn't
amazing.
that pretty?
Beautiful. And like you said, I didn't even realize where you mentioned that you don't have to have talent. It's truly just doing it. And look how
Just do it.
talented the end result is just,
Makes me happy. It makes me happy. It doesn't
and
matter
that's
what.
what that's what I want to discuss. It's like, how do we find, sometimes it's the courage, or maybe like you said, the time, because sometimes we just tell ourselves, I don't have time. I have too much to do. I have goals to meet, and we don't. Can you share how you even
Well,
started?
first of
Did you?
all, you have to believe in investing in yourself because creativity, a lot of people say, is part of your soul, it's part of your heart. You need to let it out. Even if you're a creative cook who has to cook a certain number of meals for people in your family and they've got to be balanced meals, there might be a day when you just feel like making cupcakes with a crazy design on them. There might be a day when you feel like putting on different makeup, being creative, or you feel like doing like Carrie Bradshaw did in Sex and the City, wearing clothes that don't match and creating a whole new look. That's creativity. Or writing a poem, or writing.
Yeah.
I'm writing a novel now. I'm writing a very comedy thriller murder mystery novel, and I'm having the
Ooh.
time of the month. And I'm doing it in a Word document, and when I'm in between hosting radio shows or setting up shows or talking to guests on prep calls, what I will do is I will just open this Word document and just look at where I was and just add a couple of paragraphs. And it's just coming. The characters are talking to me. I've written plays that way as well. Overnight, I wrote a play in 3 nights between 2 and 4 in the morning, and 3 days later, I had a half-hour romantic comedy that I produced on my TV show in New York. So there's always time,
Wow.
Karen. There's always time. There's something. Nobody has to suffer. You don't have to say to your family, "Oh, I can't take you to the library." If people still go to libraries, I can't do this. I can't do that. I want to do a painting. Find a little tiny space of time and make it yours. Maybe it's
Yes.
meditation at 6 in the morning. Maybe it's having a special kind of a milkshake. Maybe it's getting on a Zoom call with your friends, and there are improv games that help with that. And you could have an
Hmm.
improv game where you get 3 people and you say, "Okay, I'm going to say a line. I'm going to start a story." Karen was a very pretty lady who loved to do podcasts, and then the next person would say something else. This is a not really you, but they would add to the sentence about who this character is, and then we would take that character, and if you're recording it on Zoom, you have something to show for it at the end. You might create a mini novel or a short story or something. There are people, actually, Karen, I don't know if you know it, who collaborate on writing novels. I've interviewed 2 people who do that, where he will write a chapter and then he sends it over to his female colleague, and she will write another chapter, and then she sends it back to him and he writes it. And the twists and turns that the book takes are so different because each of them sees it from a different perspective. Interesting.
I do that with my students. Yeah, people who can't write, who don't want to write, and there was a dragon who, and then I stop. And you can be
That's it.
6 or 8 or no matter what age, and then it turns into something crazy, and then it is fun. The person who didn't want to write,
Yep.
especially if I tell them to write about anything, Fortnite, their video game, their, dream
Anything.
monster, and you create. But what does that do to your brain, you think, your soul, when you make the time, like you said,
It wakes
pockets
you up.
of time?
Yeah, it wakes you up. It makes it.
Definitely.
If I fell asleep during a detective show on TV the other night, and it was midnight when I woke up. If I go to bed before 1 o'clock, I wake up too early, so I needed to fill some time. I live alone, obviously, and so my paints were all set up on my kitchen counter, and I went over in that black canvas you just saw. I said,
Uh-huh.
"Well, the white is empty, the black is empty. What am I going to do?" And there was a little bit left, and then I picked up the yellow and the blue and the purple and the red and the orange, and 20 minutes later, I had this painting, and I was going, "Yay! I like." And I stood back and I said, "Did I do that?" It doesn't matter if anybody else liked it. I liked it. I liked it.
Yes.
Yes. And now you know what I'm going to do? I was going to throw out those empty paint bottles. No, no, no. I'm going to put little bits of paint of different colors in each of those bottles and use them to squirt the little splatters of paint. And that's going to be
Wow.
part of my technique. So that to me is creativity. But I want to tell you about these.
Yes, please tell us about those gorgeous red drumsticks.
That's called well used. The paint doesn't stay on. I was telling Karen. I won't tell you how old I am, but let's say in my late 30s, I won't tell you what that number was. I had moved to North Carolina, and I don't know why, but one day I just decided I had a friend who I knew in New York, and she was taking drum lessons, and I said, why don't I take drum lessons? So I asked her, where do you go? And she told me there's a franchise of music schools. I won't name it here. And one day I just went on the internet and found the one that was 20, 30 minutes for me. And I called them up and I said, you offer a free 30-minute trial lesson? And they said, yeah, what do you want? I said, drums. They said, you ever played the drum before? No. So I went to my lesson and I looked at the teacher. I said, I don't know anything about drumming. They look interesting. I know what they sound like in bands and orchestras, but I wouldn't know what pedal to press, what to do with the sticks. And he said, I'll show you. 30 minutes later, he said, what do you think? I said, sign me up. I'll be back next week. Well, after 3 or 4 weeks, I said, I don't want to just sit here and play in a practice session. And I went and bought a small drum kit for my house so I could practice a little. And I said, what am I going to do with this? Do you have a band? They said, yeah, we're looking for a drummer for our adult band.
No way.
And they said, and our concert is in 6 weeks. So I learned Dream On by Aerosmith with a band with 3 singers, 2 guitars, a bass, and it was a whole room full. I had to go Monday nights. I didn't get home till 11 o'clock at night. This was after work. And 6 weeks later, we are on stage at a place called Motorco here. It's a concert hall where they have bleachers for parents and, well, this is for kids bands, but they have bleachers and then they have a great big space where people just stand. I've never seen a concert hall like that. Not auditorium seats. People just stand.
Wow.
I know. And I have emceed, Karen. I have emceed bachelor auctions. I have done stage work where I'm on stage in front of 1,000 people. I've danced in front of 1,000 people years ago. And I couldn't believe how nervous I was. So I got up on stage and I sat down and I picked up my sticks and Dream On. It was our turn. And I just got into it. And the amazing thing happened is at the very end of the song, one of the guitar players, I almost get tears in my eyes. He didn't do this in practice, but as he was about to have his final note of the song, he turned around to me, he raised his guitar, and he signaled to me, I'm about to hit the final note. I lifted my sticks, and together, without even saying a word, we went, boom, and ended the song exactly in sync. My heart just soared. After that, I did tambourines on the next song that I played, another song that I did tambourines on something else. I got off the stage and people said, oh, you were really good. How long have you been playing? And I said, 8 weeks. And they said, what? I mean, I'm not a genius drummer, but I had such a good time. Now, what right did I have to do that, Karen? I thought it'd be fun to do. So I did. And then I joined a band in my community, which is called the Still Kickin' Band. Sounds like we're dead. But it's people a lot older than I am. And I am the chick drummer. And we're doing a Motown concert here in a couple of weeks. And I'll be drumming for 17 songs, 2 sets. And then I formed my own band called Red's Hot Mango, which is Latin. I have a friend here in my community who's a retired MD, and he has a beautiful singing voice. He's a Puerto Rico native, and he speaks native Spanish. And I formed the band around his talent. He plays congas and bongos and other percussion and the trumpet and the quadro. So he brings his congas.
Wow.
We play over tracks. We have music tracks for Latin rock, things I've never heard of, and some popular songs. And I have a bass player who joins us. So we are the break band for the big band. So I'll be playing straight through for 2 hours that day, 2 shows. And I just love it. I just love it.
That is so inspirational because you just went out and said, you know what? I mean, after not even, just a couple months.
Yeah. Yep. You have to go for it. I don't think
you do.
Karen, I don't think we give ourselves permission to do something not always as well as somebody who
I love what you just said.
Give yourself
permission.
Yeah. Oh, you wrote that down. I'm honored.
That I am going to write that down because you know what? I think we let our fear of judgment stop us.
Oh, yeah.
Fear of just the illusion of not having enough time. Or, you know what? I need to focus on what really counts. I need to focus on making money. I have to focus on parenting my child. I need to focus on fill in the blank. And what it does is your soul slowly dies because you are not having, and I think this is what this whole segment is about, is give yourself permission to have fun no matter what the talent is. I never thought of it that way, that you don't have to have the talent. I mean, I thought, could I paint? Could I, and I guess I'm such a, I become a student in the classroom. even if it's in my room with the canvas.
Hmm.
And my daughter and I have painting sessions. We're like, oh, I don't like the way her hair looks. I don't like, and then we're finally realizing we call it happy accidents, right? And then we end
Yep.
up creating something.
I like
And she was
that.
had such a stressful day, crying and everything. And she goes, Mom, you know what? I'm having so much fun. And we're not even leaving the house, right? I mean, when
There
you
you
think
go.
about it, this should have been promoted during the pandemic when no one could leave their house and you felt so confined. Isn't
That's
it? There's
right.
something about a blank canvas. And so I never did a 16 by 16. My daughter actually bought two 16 by 20 or whatever it was. And she goes, Mom, it's scary. And I said, because I do the little ones. I mean, my largest is 8 by 10. But I
Yep.
said, I am going to
Go
do
bigger.
this.
Go bigger. I
Yeah, when you showed me yours, and I don't have paint bottles. I have to get those. I just have the little tubes. But I'm
you need to
realizing what you just said, to shake it up and
buy the acrylic paint pouring. They already have pouring medium in them. But I was during that part of the pandemic, the 2020 part of the pandemic. We'll just leave that
yeah.
alone. I was ordering online to Michael's and picking it up curbside the next day, and I was ordering 12 to 15 canvases at a time and bottles of paint.
Wow.
And I was going through them like sometimes 3 a night for a week, 5 a weekend. I've got 150 paintings in my house. My
Oh
garage
my
my
gosh.
garage walls are an art gallery. I designed my garage so it looks like a race car garage. It's got a white, black, and red tiled floor, and it's got gray walls with red stripes. And I hung my paintings up with little push pins all over the walls of my garage. And I don't have enough room. I've got some in the kitchen. I've got them in the living room. I've got them in my music room. I've got them in my office here. I've got 25 paintings all over the walls of my office. I just keep painting. I don't need to sell them. I enjoy them. They're part of who I am. So I don't know. It doesn't matter if
You know
somebody
what? You
else.
know
What?
what, Rita Red? I bet that keeps you youthful. I mean, when you make seriously, because when you have fun, and I
Oh yeah.
think when we struggle or we don't give ourselves permission, I mean, you probably age much faster because you are not taking care of yourself. And I don't mean
Mm-hmm.
like beauty regimens and skincare. It truly is making the time for you without feeling like you're selfish, without
Yes.
feeling like you're wasting money on canvases, you're wasting money on paint, because when you have fun, I mean, I look
Yeah.
at you, those drumsticks, and it makes me want to get some drumsticks.
I have about 10, 15 pairs in the other room. I upgraded my drum kit and bought all new cymbals about 6 months ago, and they're just gorgeous. They're shiny. They look like gold hubcaps. They're beautiful. They're just beautiful. I've invested. This is my third drum kit. I have a Ludwig red sparkle with um, uh, I have some Zildjian and some Sabian cymbals, and I bought a set of chimes. It's I think 24 chimes on a wooden stand, and for some of my Motown songs, I do right across with a stick, and you
Ooh.
get the sound of the beautiful chimes that go up and or down the scale. And we do all kinds of rock and roll songs in our band, and I just really have a good time because this is music that I grew up with. I didn't. This was not it.
Hmm.
I didn't grow up with Aerosmith. I grew up with the Beatles. I grew up with Elvis Presley. I grew up with the Coasters. I grew up with the Temptations. So I
Hmm.
know that music, and I don't have to sit there and study it. It's in my bones. It's in my soul. So when I hear those songs, I might listen just a little bit to the YouTube version, and then I just go for it, and I interpret the song the way I'm an interpretive drummer. I can keep a beat, obviously, but I love to drum because it brings something out of me, the enjoyment of the song. And the two songs that have a
Wow.
heavy drum lead, one is Pretty Woman,
Oh my gosh. Yes.
and the other one is Money. And there's a heavy drum lead on Money, and I love those songs because I get to start. But I have to do the count, and I'll do the sticks together and get the musicians. I have to wait for one of the guitar players or the bass player starts on some. They have to look at me. I'll be up on a stage for this performance, and they'll be below me. And then we have 5 singers in the band. The singer has to signal one of the guitar or the bass players who's starting the music. They signal me, I tap out the beat, and then we start in sync. And so it's teamwork. It's a process. It's fun. It's really fun. And I used my
Wow.
old graphic design skills, and I made a really beautiful poster to advertise our performance coming up. I went in Photoshop and I found some backgrounds, blue bubbles and circles, and I photographed all the band members and I laid it out. There are how many? 4, 8, 12, 11 of us with the manager, and I laid it out, and then it's dust off your clean off, dust off your dancing shoes. The Still Kickin' Band's Motown Dance Party, and then it has the specifics on the details on the side, and the band is front and center, all of their pictures, and it turned out really, really pretty.
Wow, talk about hidden talents. And don't you think when we have fun, we discover our hidden talents,
Oh,
without you put the
absolutely.
judgment aside and you purely engage in fun. So,
Yep.
I mean, as parents, I think that's what we need to encourage because I notice a lot of my students, no, I'm not good at that, or no, I can't do that.
No,
And then
stop.
if we don't actually inspire them to just go ahead and do it, I'm having kids like, color outside of the line. Color outside of the line. Yes, just scribble scrabble because they're told in school, you cannot scribble scrabble. My students says, but I get in trouble doing scribble scrabble. So when you give them permission, their eyes light up and they realize, wait a minute, I can do this. But I think that's the thing with the academic classroom. You're just in this box and you must, use correct grammar. You must. And so a lot of times when I do it, right, spelling and grammar don't matter really, and we can edit later, but I love your philosophy of just having fun, which means making the time.
Yep.
And like you said, just going for it. Have you always done this? I mean, have you approached life? I know the other interview, it was like, when you decided to be brave and then moved to the East Coast from
Oregon.
very, very far away.
Yep.
And then you just did it. You decided to do your degree. Then you decided to, right. And then things just happened to fall in place.
I
Where you
went the
ended up
other way.
getting,
I left the East Coast and moved to the West Coast with my husband, and then I divorced him a year later, and then I stayed, and that's where I got my extra degrees and started working. Yes, it's a long story. What I wanted to tell you, Karen, was that I got a note home from the kindergarten or first grade teacher of my daughter many years ago, and the note said, "Your daughter, I won't. She doesn't like me talking about her on media, so I won't give you her name. She is a doctor now. She's an MD, and the note from the teacher said." Your daughter needs remedial work because she's coloring outside of the lines, and that's not what we do. I kid you not. And I just looked at my daughter and I said, "You just keep coloring outside the lines, baby." My daughter ended up being an extremely talented artist in her spare time. And I am very blessed to have half a dozen huge acrylic paintings she did when she was 13 and 14 years old that are framed and have been with me for years on the walls of whatever home I've lived in. Very talented abstract painter. And she illustrated all of her biology notebooks with intricate pen and ink drawings of all of the subjects
wow.
because she was an artist as well as a med student, and her books were gorgeous. So we said, "Hey, the heck with that. You just keep doing what you're doing." But that
Yeah.
was
And
the
I think
philosophy.
parents should do that because other parents will feel judged and then will scold their children and say, you need to abide by the school rules. And then you end up squelching their personality and their gifts.
Well, I've
I
heard
love that.
rumor has it that formal education does squelch creativity and tries to make us all conform to those boxes. Check the boxes. Did you do this homework? Did you hand this in? Did you do this? But I think we need to just, I don't know, I think we need to take time to say, I'm going to color out of the box, but maybe on my own time. I'm going to do something. It'll be my little secret. I'm going to paint. I'm going
Yes.
to play the drums. I don't need to be in a band. I'm going to listen to music and I'm going to create music. Garage band. Look at all the opportunities
Yes.
there are to. I'm going to be creative in my own way. I met a musician who is a person in the software and other industries for 35 years, and he wanted to create music on his own. He's in France. He was on my radio show last week, and I met him because I'm launching a new radio series soon, a new business series, and the man who is sponsoring the series is friends with this gentleman. He said, "My friend Serge, I can give his first name, is a musician. Can we use some of his original music?" I said, "As long as he signs an authorization, because we can't use copyrighted music unless we get." And I was introduced to 75 Sounds on SongCloud by Serge. Now, Serge he sings, he plays any one of a number of instruments. He's very talented. Songs range from orchestral to Latin to jazz to pop. He just keeps creating. But the funny part is, Karen, that years ago, he spoke to a music industry record label CEO who said, Serge, don't quit your day job. You'll never make it as a musician. Well, Serge has been doing music now for years as a sideline, as a hobby. Okay. And apparently it has opened doors for him to TED Talks. He has worked with some people at Cirque du Soleil, and he's just doing it because he loves to create music. And we played two of his original songs on the radio show when he appeared last Monday with my other guests, and it was a real treat. So there's an example of a grown man who is still doing his own music, and he's creating, I'm not sure what program, but he uses a DAW, and he's able to push the buttons. He does his own drums, he does his own horns, he does the piano
Wow.
music. He creates the whole sound, and this is what he does now. And he's self-trained.
What an inspiration. Well, you hear these
Yeah.
stories, how Fred Astaire was told he can't dance, or how, Tom Cruise and all these other people like, no, you're never going to be able to make it. So I think it truly is what your message is just get out there. Don't let judgment or lack of time
Don't judge
or,
yourself. Don't judge yourself.
yeah, I love it. Well, this was fun. Thank you so much. I know you're super busy with all your podcasts and then now your music. It's like a career. You've made it into, it's a hobby slash, you know what I mean? It's a part of you, and
It is.
keep painting and
I will.
keep sharing. This is amazing.
Karen,
And you know what?
What? I was going to
It's
say
you're an inspiration.
my message
Sorry?
to you is you're an inspiration. I am very grateful that you saw something interesting in my story, that you're allowing me to share it with you and your audience, your millions of people who follow you. I think I'm up to about 3 million listeners now, because that was a couple of years ago, but we're not
Oh
doing the count
my
here.
gosh. I'm just starting out.
But Karen, you are an inspiration. You're a lovely person. Your spirit is lovely. You're very generous and gracious, very articulate, and I am very honored to be invited by you to be part of your podcast. So I say thank you to you.
Thank you. That meant a lot to me. Wow. Thank you so much. And we will definitely be keeping in touch.
Bye bye.
Bye. Take care.
You too.